Hey everyone, Ninja Cat here, and today I'm going to do something very special. I am going to read my first ever completed fan fiction out loud as essentially an audiobook. Please enjoy. Oh, right. You gotta know what it is. It's actually a fan fiction of The Tick, and if you don't know who this superhero is, look it up, please. I don't have time to explain. I'm told that it's because my parents are old that I even know who he is, and it's irritating because most people I talk to have no idea who he is. The Tick is awesome! Alright, on with the story. The Tick, when the balloon of hope pops. Chapter 1. Good Morning City. The Tick was up before Arthur. He wanted to get something to surprise his beloved sidekick. After all, it was his birthday. He knew how much Arthur loved a clean apartment, so he thoroughly cleaned the apartment, then left to get some supplies for the birthday party. Cake, decorations, presents, the works. He also decided to do patrol alone for once and let Arthur sleep in. As he jumped from building to building, he felt strange, alone. He wanted to ask Arthur's opinion on this feeling, and that's when he realized the cause. The weird feeling was because Arthur wasn't there. He decided to finish patrol quickly and went shopping. He looked at the potential gifts and thought deeply about what Arthur might like. He saw a puppy and yelled, "Perfect! The best gift for my best friend is man's best friend." He then got a huge cake with lots of candles and candy on it. It looked like something a young child would like, but Tick never fully understood Arthur's style. He drooled as he looked at the cake he got and said, "Arthur is going to love this magical creation of sweetness and birthday joy." Maybe a little. He eats a few pieces of candy and returns to the apartment to decorate. He was surprisingly sneaky, and it helps that Arthur hasn't gotten his coffee yet. Arthur was too groggy to notice the stuff Tick brought in, and he was distracted when he tripped over Speak, the Tick's pet capybara. The Tick smiled as he got to work. And I'm sorry, everyone. My voice, my everything, I'm not good at reading aloud. Also, I need a drink. Chapter 2. Surprise! Arthur opened the door to his apartment. He had gone out to get some donuts as a birthday treat for himself. He did think it was strange that Tick forgot his birthday. He decided it was because of all the head injuries that came with the hero's line of work. He nearly had a heart attack when a bunch of friends, family, and superheroes jumped out of nowhere and yelled, "Surprise!" He fainted in response. He soon woke up and saw the unpleasant sight of Speak standing on his chest, looking down at him. Tick laughed and said, "Speak was worried about you, chum. Now get up and mingle, birthday boy." He then grabbed Arthur and set him on his feet. Arthur awkwardly mingles. He sees Dot and Dinosaur Neil on the couch chatting with American Maid. Sewer Urchin is happily partaking of the refreshments, and the Fledermaus was trying to hit on the Mole King's queen, only to be beat up by her. Arthur is then called to the center of the room when where he starts unwrapping his gifts. He got a cool statue from Sewer Urchin. He didn't want to know where he got it. He got a gift card to a spa from Dot and Dinosaur Neil, which he deeply appreciates and definitely needs. A new microwave from American Made. He needed one. The Tick broke the last one. A birthday crown from the King and Queen of the Mole People. He was pleasantly surprised. and a card from the Mouse. Just a dollar store card, nothing more. The Tick then brings out a box with holes in it. Arthur immediately suspects something alive. Great, another mouth to feed, thought Arthur in annoyance. Then he opened the box. Chapter 3 Destiny. Arthur was annoyed at the thought of another creature in his apartment, but the soft fur and chocolate brown eyes of the puppy stole his heart. He whispered to Tick, "Wow, Tick, I love her. How did you find her?" Tick smiled and said, "I found her through destiny." Arthur smiled and said, "I think I'll call her Destiny." After the gifts were situated, it was time for cake. Arthur struggled to blow out all the candles, and when he was done, he said, "I'm not that old, but I feel that old." Tick didn't understand, but everyone else got a good laugh out of it. But soon the party was interrupted by the news. The city was under attack by a vicious robot dog. That meant only one thing. Brainchild has returned. Chapter 4 Brainchild. They all stared at the TV in shock. Brainchild was supposed to be in prison. Arthur sighed. He knew that the prison couldn't hold the boy genius for long, but he had hoped there would be more time, and he had really hoped that nothing like this would happen today of all days. The Fledermaus immediately bails, saying that everyone else had it under control. While the Mole King and Queen offered help, they were told that it was not necessary. Sewer Urchin had gone to the sewers for supplies, and American Maid was already on it. Tick grabbed Arthur and yelled, "Come on, chum! We can party more later! First we need to stop the evil!" He jumps out the window, dragging Arthur with him. He jumped from building to building, almost causing as much damage as Skippy, the robot dog. Arthur struggled to keep up, and he felt a little ill because of all the rich birthday food he ate before the flight. They arrived to see people being mind-controlled by Brainchild, with Skippy as the enforcer. American Maid was already neutralizing the civilians. She then yelled, "Tick! Arthur! You need to take out Brainchild!" Tick eagerly got into the fray, yelling at Brainchild, "You are being a horrible brat!" Brainchild was one of the few villains that could really get under the Tick's skin. Brainchild laughed an evil laugh and said, "Good luck without your sidekick! Sick 'em, Skippy!" Skippy attacks Arthur and chases after him. Arthur didn't seem to be in immediate danger, so Tick yelled to Arthur, "Great work, Arthur! Keep him busy!" Arthur yelled back, "Tick, this is very dangerous!" Tick didn't realize that would be the last time he would hear Arthur's voice. Chapter 5 The Tragic Death of Arthur. The Tick didn't hear the sickening crunch of bone when Skippy wrapped his jaws around Arthur's body, nor did he hear the agonized cry. Arthur saw Tick still fighting Brainchild, and he whispered, "Tick, I'm sorry." Tick meanwhile pinned Brainchild against the wall and shouted, "Good is once again victorious!" As the cops took Brainchild and Skippy away, Tick hears the sound of an ambulance and the horrified cry from American Maid. He rushed over and saw a terrible sight. Arthur in the rubble, his suit stained with his blood, and he wasn't moving other than the weak, shallow breathing. Tick rushed over in a panic and called out, "Arthur! Chum! Get up! We won!" "Please get up. What about your birthday?" The paramedics loaded Arthur into the ambulance and sped away with the alarms blaring. Tick followed them by jumping from rooftop to rooftop, causing more damage than usual in his haste. The ambulance slowed down, and the alarm wasn't on. It pulled into the hospital, and Tick joined the doctors there. The paramedic sadly said to the doctor, "Time of death, 12:59. Tick yelled, "Impossible! He rushed over to Arthur and yelled, "Wake up, little buddy! You can't go! You're the balloon of hope!" The doctors tried to move Tick, but he was unmovable. The Tick finally whispered, "This can't be destiny." Chapter 6. The Autopsy and Funeral. The autopsy showed that Arthur's entire rib cage had been crushed, and he burst a blood vessel in his brain. Even if he was alive when he got to the hospital, they wouldn't have been able to save him. Tick stood at the open hole in front of the gravestone where the casket was being lowered. American Maid was reading a speech about Arthur. She had read, "We are gathered here today to honor a fallen hero, Arthur, a kind man who still had so much life left to live, cut short in the line of duty. When we take on the role of superheroes or sidekicks, we take on this role with the understanding that this is dangerous work with high stakes." Arthur didn't stop when he saw how dangerous hero work was. He kept pushing for a better tomorrow. He really was, in the Tick's own words, the balloon of hope. She then bowed her head with sadness and respect, then said, "Does anyone else wish to speak?" Dot walked forward and spoke. "Today was the occasion, supposed to be a happy occasion, my brother's birthday, and the day I tell him about my pregnancy. I wish I told him sooner. Excuse me." She leaves quickly. She was crying. Dinosaur Neil followed her. Next to speak was Sewer Urchin. "Arthur was definitely a great man. When he fought by my and Tick's side in the sewers, he learned fast and was definitely a great help. And he defended me when no one else would. He was most definitely a good friend." The Mole King and Queen stood together, and the King said, "Arthur was one of the men responsible for the union between me and my Mole Queen, and for that we are forever grateful." American Maid looked at Tick as they listened to everyone's speeches and asked quietly, "Tick, aren't you going to say something?" Tick was silent. Then the Fledermaus spoke. "Arthur was okay. Well, I wasn't his biggest fan. He just wore a bunny suit and called himself a hero. I did most of the work." Tick just lost it. He rushed over and grabbed the Fledermaus and proceeded to smash him into a wall. As he did so, he screamed, "Arthur did more than you ever will. He was my sidekick and best friend, and he is the best. I won't ever let you talk that way about the balloon of hope." The Fledermaus was shivering in pain and fear. Several bones were broken, but somehow he had the strength and spite to say, "The balloon of hope popped." Tick stared at the Fledermaus. He was horrified by the injuries he caused and broken by what the Fledermaus had said. He slowly let go of the Fledermaus and ran. Drink break. Chapter 7. Home. Tick hasn't left the apartment in days. He only even left the couch to feed Speak and Destiny. The mail came in. It was an eviction notice. Arthur hasn't been able to pay, so the apartment was now meant to be empty. American Maid came in and said, "Tick, you need to get up and do something. It will never get better if you just sulk on the couch and never do anything with your life." She grabs him by the antenna and forces him off the couch while yelling, "This isn't you!" Tick pulls away and rubs his aching antenna before whispering, "The balloon of hope popped. There is no hope. Destiny has left us." American Maid angrily said, "Get it together, Tick! The city still needs you!" Tick pulled away and looked out the window, which was broken. In fact, the whole apartment was in disrepair. He finally said, "I have failed in the fight against evil. The city does not need me. American Maid didn't know what to say. She was worried that Tick would never recover. Chapter 8. The City in Peril. As a giant monster rampaged its way through the city, Tick just sat in an alleyway alone, all alone, except for the pets Speak and Destiny, who stayed by his side. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw a new hero going towards the monster. He just couldn't help but follow her. She had a determined look in her feline eyes as she made her way towards the chaos, as many other heroes ran away. He just watched as the new hero took down the monster. Then she turned and looked him in the eye. She went over to him and walked past, whispering to him as she left, "It's not over. Evil still thrives." Then she was gone, disappearing into the shadows without a trace. Chapter 9. Alone Again. Tick felt the city looming over him as the crushing loneliness filled the air around him. In one arm he held Speak, in the other he held Destiny. It started to rain. He soon found a large box and used it to shelter himself and the pets from the rain. He saw a robber run by, but he just didn't have the strength to stop them. Destiny looked at him and whined. She was hungry, and so was Speak. When the rain stopped, Tick got up and picked up Speak and Destiny and went to search for some food. Without Arthur, there was no money to buy food, so Tick and the pets took to eating out of dumpsters and getting handouts. Tick's gloomy state deterred people from talking to him, but to his surprise, one person did talk to him. She had purple hair and green eyes. She was wearing a t-shirt with what looked like a snowman with a flamethrower saying, "I just want to watch the world burn." She smiled at him and said, "Looks like you could use some help. My place has a couch and food." Tick silently got up and followed her. He didn't want a couch or food, but he still had to think about Speak and Destiny. They eventually got to a house that looked like it was built to survive the apocalypse. She unlocked the door, which had multiple locks, and they went inside. Thirsty. Chapter 10. A Survivor's Home. Tick sat on the couch and felt tears well up as he remembered the first time he ever went into Arthur's apartment. He felt Destiny lick them away, and he could see Speak staring off into space. Tick pet them both and went to talk to his gracious host. He saw her stirring some raw meat in a metal bowl. Tick tapped her shoulder and startled her, and she shouted, "Holy scrap! Don't sneak up on me like that!" Tick took a step back and said, "Ew, what is that?" She sighed and said, "The raw diet. I feed it to my cat. He's a predator who deserves only the best meat." Tick scratched his head. He was wondering, isn't that what cat food it was for? She then showed him another bowl and said, "This and this will soon be our dinner. Cheeseburgers." Tick looked a little grossed out by the raw meat. People are uncomfortable with where their meat comes from and prefer not to think about it. She didn't seem to care. She seemed used to it. She had a deep understanding of the predatory nature of cats, reptiles, and even people. After grilling and serving the cheeseburgers, she and Tick sat on the couch and she put on some anime. Tick sighed sadly and put the plate on the floor. She quickly picked it up and said, "That has garlic on it." "Garlic is poisonous to dogs." She pointed at Destiny. Tick then said sadly, "I can't even protect a puppy, let alone a city." She finally said to Tick, "My name is Eloise, and hero work is not for the faint of heart. We lose the people we care about, and yet the world still goes on. A world that must be protected. Tick looked thoughtful. She finished by saying, I'm tired, and I'm sure you are too. I'm going to bed. You can have the couch. Tick watched her leave the room. He then laid on the floor. The couch brought back too many memories. He fell into a fitful, nightmare-ridden sleep. Chapter 11. The Dawn of the Dark. A mysterious villain stayed hidden in the shadows. He hated the light, and especially the day, so the solution is simple. Get rid of the sun. No sun, no day. No day, no light. He got to work, remaining in the shadows. Meanwhile, Eloise stood over Tick, who was so deep in his sleep that he was drooling all over the nice carpet. She sighed and nudged him with her foot, trying to wake him up. He suddenly sat up, crying, Arthur! This quick reaction sent Speak and Destiny flying off his chest and into the cat tree, giving the resident cat an unpleasant wake-up call. Eloise said, Morning, Tick. You hungry? Tick took a few deep breaths and said, Yes, I am very hungry. But what about Speak and Destiny? Eloise smiled and said, I have plans for their breakfast. Suddenly, they noticed a shadow looming over the city. Eloise sighed and said, Here are some instructions. Feed the pets. I need to take care of something. Tick watched as she ran out the door. He then fed the pets and turned on the TV. He saw a villain trying to destroy the sun. Then he saw a mysterious hero. He suddenly thought, that new hero doesn't have enough experience in heroing. I should help them. He then saw the new hero fall, and he yelled, I'm coming! The Tick will save you! Tick got up and jumped out the window, breaking it in the process. Chapter 12. Let the battle begin. Tick jumped from building to building. He could feel the pain of the memories as he went toward the battle. He saw that the new hero had already gotten up. She saw him and smiled. He joined the fray, and the villain wouldn't give up. Tick yelled to the villain, You face the Tick! The villain laughed and said, Oh, the hero who couldn't save his own sidekick. You don't stand a chance, for I am the Shadow Master. The fight wore on. Tick was tired but determined. He asked the young hero, What do you call yourself? What is your hero name? She smiled and said, Call me Ninja Cat. Their conversation was interrupted when Shadow Master blinded them. Tick was put in a state of panic, but Ninja Cat was more able to navigate without eyesight. Her sharp hearing and sense of smell allowed her a great advantage over Tick. However, the shadows were where Shadow Master thrived. Shadow Master kept attacking over and over, and the hits were overwhelming. Tick groped around until he found the device blocking the sunlight. He destroyed it. Light flooded the city. Shadow Master cried in horror and was so weakened by the sun that the Tick, with a mere flick of his finger, knocked the villain to the ground. Tick watched with a victorious smile as Shadow Master was shoved into a police car. But then Tick heard the familiar and terrible sound of an ambulance. Chapter 13. Will history repeat itself? Tick rushed over just in time to see Ninja Cat being taken away. He felt the same fear for his new partner as he did for his sidekick. He got to the hospital. The ambulance didn't slow down. The urgency was still there. That meant she was alive. But would she stay alive? Later, the Tick stood outside the hospital, afraid to go in, afraid of the news he might receive. but he finally mustered the strength to walk in. He was brought to a room. Her room. He saw her face. Ninja Cat was Eloise. Eloise smiled and said, "Looks like the cat's out of the bag." Tick finally cried, "Ninja Cat, you're alive!" She sat up and said, "And I'm out of here. I got pets to feed and a promise to keep." Tick was silent. He followed her out of the hospital. Chapter 14. A Hero's Promise. Ninja Cat and Tick watched the sun set as the end of an eventful day approached. Tick was deep in thought. He just saw history about to repeat itself, losing yet another person he cared about. But the ending was different. He did not lose her. She was a survivor, and she was lucky to be alive. Tick sighed and said, "There was a time when I thought destiny had abandoned me or never existed. But now I see that destiny has many ups and downs. Good things are great, but sometimes bad things just have to happen, even if we never know why." Ninja Cat nodded and put in her own 2 cents. "When we become heroes, we make a promise to serve and protect, to be willing to put our lives on the line. You don't need superpowers to make this promise. You just need the will to do something when no one else will." Chapter 15. Epilogue. Dot and Dinosaur Neil had decided to pay Ninja Cat and Tick a visit. They walked in with a special guest with them, a baby boy just a month old. Tick was excited to see a baby in the house and eagerly held the little one, while Ninja Cat and Dot talked in the background, with Ninja Cat asking her, "So, what's the little guy's name?" Dot smiled a sad and happy smile in an almost mysterious way. She then said, "His name is Arthur." The end. I hope you like my fan fiction. It's the first time I ever completed one, actually. And I'm working on a second fan fiction. So stay tuned for Federation Park. What if Star Trek and decided to pull the same stunt as the scientists of Jurassic Park? See you all next time. Ninja Cat out.